Hereby call the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust meeting to order from Monday, November 29, 2021. We'll do a roll call to indicate who's present. Joe Powers, Chair.
Larry Brophy remotely.
Brendan Lowney.
Don Howell.
Judith Underwood?
All right, so we have a full membership of the board present, so we'll get right into the new business. First item is discussion and possible vote on town administrator's presentation of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund balance. And actually, this is meant more as an update, but I will just inform the trust that I'm trying to use the same protocols that the Board of Selectmen uses, so that if there were discussions that they could lead to possible votes. But the update on this is, you may have read or seen the Community Preservation Committee meeting where I presented updates on behalf of the trust. One of the questions that came up from the membership of the Community Preservation Committee is, would they be getting trust fund balance information? The answer is yes. I informed the Community Preservation that I would first give updates to the trust, then to the Board of Selectmen, then to the Community Preservation Committee. Working with Carol Capola, our Finance Director, she'll be able to...
Don't mind me.
Larry, is that you sneezing?
So Larry, would you like to mute, or do you want me to mute you in the short term?
No, that's fine. He'll stop. He stopped barking.
Thank you for that interlude. Working with the Finance Director, Carol Capola, where she'll be able to provide quarterly updates. So we have 2 months left in this quarter, meaning November, then December. I can tell you, generally speaking, that she had a balance back in October of just under $400,000, which was $397,698. She has indicated that there is cell tower revenue available. However, I'll look to Selectman Howell on that, because I think you might have more up-to-date numbers. She's indicated a balance of $43,000 and change.
We voted in the summer to disperse funds again.
All right, so I'll work with her to confirm on that one. So again, the output would be that a quarterly report will be presented to the trust to bring the trust up to date on the balances, then share with the Board of Selectmen, and then distribute it after that.
I want to be very cautious, and I wanted to say this publicly because I saw the CPC meeting. The cell tower money was not insignificant. It was six-figure money that we had. And in expensing out the associated costs, the purchase of the Marsline property, I had talked with Carol, and the number doesn't mean a whole lot to me because I need to know what the top line number is. She needs to draw down the cell tower balance to basically zero, to accommodate the fact that there's a possibility within the number of lots that are in there that one or more of them could have been assigned as being purchased by cell tower money, and that would allow us to get to 100% area median income. If it's all associated with CPC, it's trapped at 60 and 80, and nothing more can happen to it. So I need to make sure that she's doing that, because the money was available in one giant pot, and we had well more than what we needed to be able to make the purchase. But it is really important to make sure we do that carve-out so that we can do things that we were talking about over the past year.
So we will be discussing a little bit later, related on the deed discussion, a meeting for this group in December, so that we can all execute the deed document. It would be separate from our regular meeting because I'm away that week, unless the trust still wanted to meet then. But we could also talk about having the Finance Director come in and talk about the fund balances and exactly what you're talking about, if that's...
But that would be the driving factor, is like, instead of the bottom line, what's left in it is expense it out over on this side of the ledger before you actually start taking money for drawing down the CPC funds.
It's as simple as the time of purchase, what was in the cell, from the cell.
And that would be zeroed out.
Right, exactly.
Any other discussion on item A, the trust fund balance reporting going forward?
No.
Larry, anything?
No, nothing for me.
All right, so then the next agenda item, discussion and possible vote on conveyance. Again, Discussion and possible vote is a standard there. For me, it's really meant to be discussion insofar as tonight, the Board of Selectmen are being presented with a deed document that was provided by Katie Klein of KP Law, and it gets to several of, but not all of the parcels listed on the agenda, so I can tell you that the parcels 1 and 2, as it is on the agenda, are in the deed document. The Depot Road, Orleans Road, and Depot Road, so 4, 5, and 6 are there, as well as the 7th parcel. So the one that was omitted presently is what would appear on our agenda as map 56 parcel P12. I just want to confirm that, which is 0 Depot Street. And there was a question from council regarding the original deed. I think she's working with KP Law's subcontractor that does title work to make sure that that was clear. I spoke with her last week, and she indicated that they wouldn't have that ready probably for the rest of the month, meaning not sometime in December. So the direction was to go forward to the Board of Selectmen tonight on the parcels that I just mentioned. So that's items 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on our agenda. So those are the ones that are being presented to the board tonight. And then there'll be a separate deed done regarding map 56 parcel P12, 0 Depot Street, once council is able to confirm the status of the title. Yep, Don?
I think it's really important for the public to know, why we're having this discussion in the first place. I know we've had it at the Board of Selectmen level, but the fact of the matter is town meeting voted the parcels. There's two things going on here. The town meeting voted the parcels to be transferred under the jurisdiction of the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust. Subsequent to that, the then town administrator never filed anything with the registry to indicate the change of ownership, which is why we need to do this. We were all laboring under the assumption that that had happened. So we had significant discussions about Sisson Road, to the point of going to MHP and everything, but we didn't realize that we were not listed as the owner of the property. That's the first thing. The second thing is for the public to understand, just because something's under our jurisdiction doesn't necessarily mean we're putting something up at that location. It may very well be that it's released or it's flipped to create revenue in order to be able to do something like the Marsline project or Sisson Road, where we need development funds. So all of this hinges on us being able to complete this transaction so that we actually can have any of those discussions.
Yeah, and so what would happen, like I said, we should now discuss a meeting date in December for as many trust members to be present to sign the deed as received, and then it can be recorded. And so I can offer up some dates of availability in the short term, and it's not meant to be an exclusive list, but things that I can guarantee that I'm available for. This Friday, if there's a desire to meet, I have availability from 10:30 to noon, and the afternoon is generally open for a meeting. Next Monday, I would be available before 11 a.m. and after 2 p.m. And next Friday, December 10th, anytime in the morning. Do any of those times or dates work or not work for members?
This Friday works for me.
So December 3rd would work?
Great for
Can't
me.
do Monday mornings.
Can't do Monday mornings?
So
Friday
I
works.
mean, Friday mornings.
Friday mornings? Okay.
That's the medical appointment.
how many do we need? Do we just need
We
3?
need to, do we just need to sign it, or do we need to have a meeting to sign it?
So the board should meet to vote to accept and then sign.
And do we, how
Why
many,
can't we make a motion to accept contingent upon approval by the Board of Selectmen?
We
Since we're
could.
already meeting.
We could if you feel that that's sufficient notice on the agenda.
I do.
Sure. Larry, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I'm available Friday. Of course, it's little, I can sign electronically.
Sorry, Judith, what were you saying?
I said we discussed it last meeting, that it would go before the Board of Selectmen.
Yep. You wanna make a
Yeah,
motion?
I'd like to move things along because we're just spinning our wheels otherwise. I'd like to move that, with the exception of item 3 on our agenda, map 56, parcel P12, 0 Depot Street, that subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen at a future action, that we accept and sign the deed conveyance for all the listed properties.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. It would be all the properties listed on the agenda. Map 61 parcel B1-A, known as 0 Oak Street. Map 61 parcel B1-B, 0 Oak Street. Map 63 parcel J1, 0 Depot Road. Map 63 parcel J2, 0 Orleans Road. Map 63 parcel J3, 0 Depot Road. And map 40 parcel Z5, 265 Sisson Road. It's been moved and seconded. Go around the table if there's any discussion. Brendan?
None.
Larry?
I have nothing to add.
All right. Don?
Yeah, I don't want to get too cute and half to the public. If we do this, then the selectmen vote, and Judith's recommendation could happen. People could just come in and, sign and then leave.
Thank you. Judith, any comments?
No?
All right, so all those in favor, I'll have to do a roll call. Brendan?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Judith?
Aye.
And I am an aye, so that passes 5-0. And as Selectman Howell said, assuming that the board votes it tonight and signs it tonight, we'll have those documents in the administration office tomorrow for whenever members could come in and execute that document. Any other comments or discussion under that agenda item? All right, then we have new business, item C. We're joined this afternoon by Jonathan O'Callahan and Janet Cardillo. So folks, if you want to come forward, you certainly can. Unfortunately, Jeff Locantori is unable to join them today, but we know that their group is ably represented by the folks here in front of us. Have you done a preliminary presentation to community preservation?
Yes, we have.
Okay, and so what they're looking for from the trust, we've talked about this at previous meetings, but we have their application in front of us as well as their document materials. And at this point, I would just turn it over to Jonathan and Janet for their presentation, and then take any questions or actions from the trust members.
Good morning, committee. Before our last meeting, on 11/18/2021, it came to our attention there was few negative reviews about Camelot Builders from Tilton, New Hampshire. Shoddy workmanship, unresponsive customer service. We ourselves have experienced no return phone calls or questions and answers. Through several in-depth conversations with project manager at Avalon Building Systems of Canton, Massachusetts, with online approval from the board members, we have made the decision to go with them and change the design to a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath ranch that better accommodate our residents. We are waiting prices on difference between having a house built and delivered or having it done turnkey, where they do all from land clearing to final connection services. CPC members were interested. They seemed to question each other about which comes first, the confirmation from the Affordable Land Trust on the land donation at Oak Street, or a decision on CPC money as requested. There was also comment about deed having been recorded that will come with restrictions. So we come to the trust with questions. We are serious about wanting to build on Oak Street. We have conveyed the neighborhood and feel that the ranch model is interested and would fit in very well. If we are considered for Oak Street, we would like to know the location of the buildable lot located on 2 parcels, 61A, 61B, and what size the lot would be. We know there is deed restrictions for the property, will always be designate for affordable housing. We're not seeing this as a problem. And then I'd like to turn it over to Janet, our secretary, with more information.
Okay, since our meeting with you, we have continued to fundraise through sending out letters. We have received 4 letters of intent to donate money amounting to at least $23,000, and this should be in by December 31st. We plan to do a GoFundMe page. Once we get our website up, we're going to be voting on that this Wednesday at our board meeting. We are opening a second bank account now that we see some money coming in order to keep separate all donations for house building, land development, excavation, etc., from ordinary business expenses. And we currently have no business expenses. We are all volunteer, and each volunteer has been graciously donating money, services, goods, and time. And I imagine that will continue for quite a while. We have joined the Chamber of Commerce in order to build a network of business people and to participate in chamber activities. So we come to you, we want to know what the next steps, what do you require of us to move forward?
Before I open it up for the that concludes your presentation for now, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Before I open it up for the trust, my question would be, in your application, you indicated that you were looking to go before the Affordable Housing Trust, the Planning Board, and the Housing Committee. Have you had those other meetings yet?
We have not been able to go, we have not been able to connect, and not the planning committee. The other one, they said it was premature to go. Is that right?
Before the Housing Committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we be doing that now?
They need to see a project.
Yeah.
That's what got in trouble over the last year or two. It's not formed yet. I mean, you don't have the land,
I know.
and you don't have you just transition from one builder to another, and there's other issues, but I'll wait for my turn to bring that up.
Did you go before Planning Board?
No, we did not. It was the planning board that
said
told
that.
us we were too premature.
Understood. All right. I'll open it up. Brendan, if you have any comments or questions?
Thanks for being here. Like last time, it seems like a really great project, great idea. We do have parcels of land that we talked about last meeting. Don, you weren't here, but Oak Street was mentioned. The only reservation I have is the competition of applications with CPC, and it's kind of what we're going for the same money in a way. So I just want to get some other members' thoughts on that as well.
Larry, any comments?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I agree wholeheartedly with the concept, and I think the group is doing an admirable job in working through the process. But quite frankly, they are competing with the Housing Trust for a use of money that we're trying to stretch every nickel that we can get into use. Now, I would suggest that, first of all, I don't, at this point in time, the Marceline property is not ready to transfer anything out because it hadn't been surveyed. And the last thing we're going to do is make commitments for something when we don't know where everything else is going to go or what it's going to be. Next, I'm a little more than a little concerned with the request for money. That is $250,000 from the CPC. That $250,000 would represent about 75% of the estimated cost for the hard infrastructure at this point in time to provide infrastructure for the entire development, whatever it might end up being. But we have to put hard infrastructure in, and that takes a lot of money. Having said that, I think the $250,000 that they're asking for, added to the cost of the land, which is in their estimated cost, it's $150,000. It's more like $250 or $350 for a parcel of land to build a house that size on. That brings the total cost to about $500,000 to $600,000. And having said that, the expense of $600,000 at this point in time for 4 people, 2 of which would be handicapped, is quite frankly a poor use of funds, public funds that we're competing to get also. I would suspect that the best thing that the applicant could do was to raise a little bit more money and be a little bit more realistic with their estimates. At this point in time, an estimate of $542,000 for somewhere near the total development cost is not realistic at this point. So I think that although the concept is good, and I know they're going to volunteer for that, it's a very difficult thing to raise $250,000 in a relatively short period of time. And I support them, and I would suggest that we could find an available parcel of land that would be more immediately buildable than anything on the Marceline property. And we could look at that with a revised plan that is more realistic. We're still talking the better part of $600,000+ to house 2 people, and I think that is not the best use of our time and money, certainly of our money. Having said that, I'll shut up and listen to what everybody else has to say.
Thank you, Larry. Don, any comments?
Yeah, let's throttle back a bit here. Depot Road or Marceline?
No, Oak
Oak
Street.
Street.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, all right, that being the basis of the conversation here, we have discussed for about a year the fact that with the constraints of the property on Oak Street and the setbacks that would be required for Conscom and other reasons, you're basically looking at 1 unit. And that's why we had moved past that, decided to start focusing on Sisson Road. So that being said, I mean, I'm not taken aback by a request for land, I mean, especially if you're going to do something that aids in the cause here. I do believe, though, that the sequencing is out of whack. That if you got the hard asset, that's what the planning board really wants to know, is do you really have any land to develop?
Yeah.
Because you can't go in there and get a site plan for some obscure generic piece of property. It's got to be for what it is you're looking at, which is going to impose setbacks and other requirements on you. If you get the property, I mean, that's the first part of the discussion. At that point, I tend to agree with Brendan, too, is that you need to scope out exactly what that is. We haven't surveyed it. So I can't even tell you where you could build this or how big the lot is. That being said, you need that first to be able to come up with a projection of what it is you want to put there and how much that would translate into per square foot to be able to build it. So, I mean, it's kind of, I don't mean to offend you at all, but it's kind of backwards to ask the CPC for money, then come to us and ask for land to apply that money to when you don't even know what you could build there because nobody surveyed it. Nobody. I mean, I'd be receptive to the whole concept. It's just I think that the sequencing is all backwards.
I'm not quite sure about the Avalon. I wish Jeff were here, but Avalon, I believe when they do the turnkey, that they do come in and do everything. They clear the land. I guess they would have to come and survey it first. I'm very unknowledgeable about this.
Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
Continue on.
Yep.
Okay. I get it. I mean, I served on the planning board. It's a deep, dark place at times. The problem is that you don't know any of the discussions that we've had. One of them was with the golf commission, the golf committee.
Yeah.
It had to do with as everybody should recall, had to do with shielding their entrance and where we would gain access to the property.
And there's a recording of that, the meeting that
there
we
is.
had.
Yeah,
But I doubt
See if
you
I can
folks have seen that.
Figure out
Yeah.
the date of this, before COVID.
Yeah, it's probably about 16 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
But we had a discussion with them relative to what the gateway would look like to the golf course as compared to what the access is to this, which will translate into how you can get into it and what you can build. But I don't know how you request money from the CPC when you don't know what it is, the magnitude of what you can build there. I don't know myself what the setbacks are, what the surveyed property, what the upland is. Again, don't take that as an outright rejection, because the property itself is not one that we're considering approving. We were looking for somebody to adopt it and do what we would do, mainly because it's inefficient use of our time and money to go and house 2, 3 people on something when we're looking more like 20, 30, 40 units to build. So this would fit in with what we wanted to do. It's just that I'm not sure that it's fleshed out enough for you to actually make a request to the CPC, because they're generally going to want to know, okay, where's the bid? In this case, it's Avalon. What price per square foot are they looking at, and where is it going to go? The general things that the planning board are going to want to know.
Yes, we are awaiting their workup of that. You know, they said it would be 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been about 2 weeks.
They being the planning board?
No,
No, Avalon
Being
Building
Avalon.
Companies.
Avalon.
Can I just ask a clarification
I'm
question?
done. I just wanted you to know I'm receptive to the whole thing. It's just that I think it's sequenced out of whack.
Yeah, one thing that is going on, we've been told to go from one committee to another, and then those committees are telling us, well, it's premature to come to us. And then they're sending us back, like the CPC sent us back to you guys.
And I'm not sending you anywhere. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that time it needs to play out to get a survey to be able to find out what you could do. I'm receptive to letting you have the land, although the CPC is a different story. We have no jurisdiction over them, but I would hope that they treat you well.
We are applying for 2 big donors, wealthy donors, who have said that they would come through, and now, you know, we're saying, okay,
Well, the land is where you'd start.
okay.
So my question for clarification was, we did not have that land surveyed, so how did we know that it was not appropriate for us to?
someone did look at it. I don't know if it was Laura, I'm sorry?
Look, not survey.
Right, and it was deemed that it was gonna only be able to receive because of where the vernal pools were and everything else, the wetlands, that was only gonna be able to receive just a single-family home. They didn't designate any bedrooms at that point, so I think it still has to be sorted out.
If they have a potential builder who's willing to volunteer their time to at least explore this for them so that they can make a better proposal, I'll just articulate it that way, could their volunteer builder speak with which department, would it be the planning department? Like, where would they start? Like, what, they need to, so, I mean, because it's a bit of a catch-22, right? We can't have certain conversations, you know, all the different boards can't, but if we looked at that piece of land, I mean, if somebody looked at it, just a bird's eye view, but had an understanding of the environmental issues, couldn't their volunteer build, and I'm saying that you know, if they were gonna volunteer their time for this, to have that conversation either with the planning department or the environmental department, is
So,
that?
yeah, they would, at some point in time, have a conversation with the community development structure, which is planning, health, conservation, building department.
But they need to have some you know,
Correct.
where do they start, I guess is the question.
Well, from, if I could pick up from there, from my purposes as a member, I think one of the questions that the applicant would ask is, are there any properties that the Affordable Housing Trust has control over that we would consider allowing them to vet.
Well, they did do that the first time they were here in August.
But I don't know that the
or-
trust has taken a vote saying that they can.
So we need to take a vote, okay.
Sure.
And this is only gonna underscore just what I was saying previously. We
Thanks,
don't own it
Will.
yet.
Correct.
So,
Oh, yeah, there's that too,
everything,
yes.
There's that,
everything
too.
everybody's saying is
That
great.
was the other
We
question.
don't
Who-
own it
Cart's
yet.
way
who
before the
owns,
horse.
The Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
And they need to convey it to us, which, that's why I made the motion, to try to get things moving here.
Yes.
So the Selectmen and I would take a vote. I'm hoping that they would approve the transferring it, because that was the intention of town meeting, but it currently isn't in our name. So we have to do that, we have to sign it, it has to be filed at the registry, so we couldn't take a vote right now, even if we wanted to, because we don't own the land you're asking for. But again, if you're looking for a sense, I'm in favor of at least having that discussion, especially on that property, because we're only talking about one unit. We were only ever talking about one unit.
And I as well, I also would be open to supporting that, and I think that will, if that were to go forward or something similar, that will help the fundraising piece enormously. Then maybe you wouldn't need to even go to CPC, who knows, right?
Dirt is the first story, the
Yeah.
first thing we need.
The land is, yeah, so we just all have to wait for the Board of Selectmen to meet and.
But if we did have someone who was willing, who could they walk around the land with? Who would they talk to?
Mr. Chairman, if I can interject,
Certainly, Larry.
I would suspect, from my point of view, we're looking for money for a parcel of land that doesn't exist. At this point in time, I think we could probably designate a parcel out that they could look over and see if it meets their requirements. And then having said that, then they can put together an application that includes exactly how much it's going to cost. I really can't see designating money from the preservation money to encumber it for 2 or 3 years until all the work is done. They're way behind themselves. So the bottom line is they probably should do the work for this particular project over the next several months and into the summer. But they've got to get a surveyor. They've got a lot of things to do that we don't do for them. That being the case, we'd be more than happy to help with land, and they can look this over and put a full application together next year for the CPC.
Okay.
So if I could, Larry, to that point, the agenda topic that brings this discussion today is whether the Affordable Housing Trust is looking to endorse the present application, and I think it's application CH3, that the adult shared living for disabled and workforce housing project team has in consideration. So,
That being the case, my recommendation would be we do not endorse it, because it is a little premature to my way of thinking.
is that a recommendation or a motion?
At this point in time, I would move that this recommendation not be endorsed and go back and look at it again
Can
and
we make a motion on the remotely?
reevaluate that.
So there's a
Bring
question,
it back next time, so I would recommend we not endorse their application.
John, do you have a question?
Yeah, shouldn't somebody,
Well, we could just do
procedurally,
it.
shouldn't
Shelve
somebody
it?
make the motion here,
To
the remote
postpone it?
person?
I wouldn't disagree. I'm trying to work off of what
Yeah,
Member Brophy's comments were to see if there's action from the trust.
Somebody want to make a motion personally here?
So Larry, what's being discussed is whether there is a member present rather than the remote looking to make the motion you've made.
Okay, if there's a member present, fine. I'd be happy to second it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I make any kind of motion, I want to make sure that you perceive the glass being half full here. Your original question was, can you get somebody to go out there and look at it?
Yes.
And I am sure we can get some staff after we get jurisdiction on this. If you get a sense from us that this property is in play. Yeah, and Larry, it isn't, they're not shopping for all properties to see what falls from the sky. They actually came in looking at Oak Street,
Yeah.
which, for reasons that I just said, we're not going to use. I mean, we're either going to flip it or put it to use with somebody else that can put affordable housing there.
Yeah.
I will agree, though, that that's where the half-full glass ends. I will agree that until you get the property, it's hard for you to know what it is you're going to be spending on it. And it's unlikely, knowing the regulatory structure that you're going to be up against, that by the time you get the CPC money, that you'll be able to spend it in that first year. I mean, we haven't been, but because I know people are going to jump on that comment, we haven't been, but our entire reason for existence is to stockpile money so when an opportunity comes along, we can jump on it right away, which is what happened with the Marsline property. But that's a whole different mentality. I mean, normally the CPC likes to see a beginning, a middle, and an end. You come there, you've got a bid, it looks like this, it's to build this, and we're asking you for this much money to do that. I don't see how you can make that presentation this year. But you could walk away with some property if we can start the ball moving where we get it and you go out and take a look at what the property is. Does that sound like a good idea? Or?
It does.
I've spoken with the persons at Cranberry Valley where the land is actually located. I work for Cranberry Valley, and they're more than willing to have us in there. So it's a great piece of land, just a matter of getting the deed to you guys, and whether you guys want to either donate it or have us pay some way for it. I think.
Can we handle first things first then, and ask that this agenda item be put back on, presuming that the selectmen convey the property to the next
Sure, we can
agenda?
continue. Well, although you have an obligation to present a final application, I believe,
A
to
final?
CPC.
They're a different organization. We don't have any sway with it.
But I do think this topic can be carried over. In a moment, we're going to talk about the schedule anyway, different meetings that we need to have over the coming months. Not to suggest you folks are coming back in months, but trying to talk about just as the trust goes. So I'll leave it to the trust as to how you want to proceed.
I think Larry's right about supporting this. I don't want to put a negative spin on it. It's just not the moment to support a project that we don't know is a project, with the CPC. But I'd like to focus on, you got a great idea. We have some property that might mate up with that idea. And then once we can get to the point of saying, okay, it looks like, because we need to do our due diligence too. It looks like you're a solid 501c3 and your purpose is aligned with what we need. And we can have a discussion about conveying the land at that point, and then you have something to start working with that's tangible.
Yeah,
Because you can't build anything on paper here. You gotta have a piece of land to do it with.
I know.
It seems like this is the place, this is where you want to start.
Yes.
That's,
So we're not sending you anywhere else. We're saying,
Correct.
this is the right place, wrong time. We need
Yeah.
a month to be able to pull this off.
Okay. So we'll be on the next month?
So once we conclude with this discussion, we're going to get into a general discussion of our calendar. The regularly scheduled meeting in December has conflicts, so I'm going to ask the trust if they will have a desire to meet in December, and I can offer some dates. And then our regular meeting schedule going forward remains the last Monday of every month. So that's January 31st, February 28th, March 28th, and April 25th. I stopped there only because those are the meetings that would precede town meeting.
Okay.
Can I be optimistic?
Sure, absolutely.
Let me be optimistic here for a second. I'm banking on the fact that the selectmen will see the wisdom of transferring the properties into our name. And we've already voted that contingent upon that they're ours, that we're willing to sign it, to take the conveyance. Is it possible for us, I mean, because it's going to be our property, is it possible for us to just get somebody to stake the property? Because, I mean, even if we wanted to build something
Generally, yes.
ourselves, we'd need to see that.
I'm trying to, it's in one of the meetings. I'll
is.
find it for next time.
I think it was MHP that said it was only, Laura Schufelt said it was only one unit.
I think it was Laura that said that.
But I
It
think
was
there
good for
a
one
map.
unit.
I mean, I
But
think-
that doesn't mean that they
Visual.
staked it or that they have a survey. She just
Right,
said
no,
that
it was
this
just,
is what you're gonna
it
get
was
out
an
of it.
informal,
Yeah,
That's my recollection, is she came in and said, no, you can't build more than one unit out of here.
right, exactly. Even though it's a pretty big parcel between the two.
because of the wet.
Yeah, because the wetlands and the setbacks and everything else.
But if we could get to that point, and I mean, let's assume we own it, we can get to the point of getting it under our jurisdiction if we can get it at least preliminarily staked out so that we can show what it is that you're looking at. I
Yeah.
mean, this-
I'll work and have that information for next meeting. What was ever presented in previous meetings. I'll get that together. Okay,
Okay.
I'll have a better answer for you next time.
Okay.
Because I'd rather not vote anything at the moment, other
yeah,
than
no.
come back, and I think we can help you with the land, which is number one, I mean, before you do anything.
And we should have some figures by that time. And to know exactly what it is that they will do.
There's nothing more frustrating and glacial than trying to build something like affordable housing, especially a niche within it. So I'm sympathetic, but we can get you rolling if you own something.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Larry, any other
Because we wanna
comments
find out
on
about
this
the
topic?
meeting,
No, I
the
think
next
that's-
meeting.
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Brendan, anything else?
None, all set.
Don or Judith?
No, I think, I'm just thinking, I'll do this offline, but Northeastern University, their graduate school, the classes that do project management take on community organizations, nonprofits, and the graduate students help formulate a project for nonprofits. So I'll connect you with them and
Okay.
see if maybe you can work with them.
So as the members have said, we couch this in optimistic terms. We continue working on this with you folks, and we keep
Okay.
moving, trying to move the process forward for sure.
Okay.
You're doing a great job, though. I appreciate
Yeah.
what you're trying to do.
I totally, like,
Please pass our
Blown
best
away.
wishes on to Jeff as well. I'm sure it takes a lot to keep him away from this meeting, and I know how
Yes.
anxious he was to present, so
I know.
please send him our regards.
So
will do.
will we get notified about
So
December?
what I would say is if you want to head back to the audience, the trust is now going to take up its agenda schedule, and you'll probably hear very soon what that means for you folks. So before we adjourn, the question I have just for the trust is that, again, we have our meeting schedule where we regularly meet the last Monday of the month. However, the last Monday of December is the 27th, and I know that's a holiday week for many. I know I will be on vacation. I know we have, and I would say, what I would describe an obligation to have our joint meeting with the Housing Committee sooner rather than later. And then we just talked about another topic that we want to have come back sooner rather than later. So what is the trust's preference for a December 2021 meeting? I mentioned some earlier dates. I could also tell you that December 15th in the afternoon, I have availability. Do we want to throw some dates out and see what sticks?
What is December 15th?
So that's a Wednesday. I only say that because the town is undergoing contract negotiations, and many of those happen the week of the 13th.
I'm free then.
Yep, that works for me.
So we're looking at the afternoon of Wednesday, December 15th. Larry, does that work for you?
It does.
All right. Judith, how about you?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check back in. Could I call in if I'm out of state?
Yeah, does the
We just
board,
need to have a quorum present.
Need a
Yep.
quorum.
does the board need to approve that request, or is it already approved for?
By state law, you can have a modest, a one-off remote participation. And 2 boards ago, I think they adopted that policy. What we had to do for Larry was because it was sequential, a number
Gotcha.
of months.
Okay. So we'll look at Wednesday, December 15th, 1 PM. Does that work for folks?
Yes.
That'd be great. And I suspect
then-
that's where your agenda is going to be.
Superb, it doesn't cut into golf.
Thanks for letting us know that, Larry, and Judith, we can work with you on remote participation as well.
Okay, thanks.
And so one of the topics to come back will be the discussion we just had under new business item C, so that we can bring that back up to see where we're at that point and go from there. Generally speaking, is there anything else to come before the trust at the meeting today? Oh, sorry, hang on, yes. So then, with regard to the special meeting, Selectman Anderson, I know you're familiar with the Housing Committee's schedule. Did you want to just be able to tell us what their parameters are to meet?
Yeah, they would need an evening meeting because a couple of them are working, and because they're on other committees. CPC meets the second, and I didn't write down the date, the second something of the month. Planning meets the second and the fourth Tuesday. Does anybody know what day CPC is?
I thought it was Thursday.
Thursday? All right, so if we did like a Wednesday, that wouldn't conflict. Thursdays. So if we avoid Thursdays and Tuesdays, which to me that got us to Wednesdays. And I would suggest, just because December gets kind of crazy, this could go to early January.
Pardon?
The 9th is a Thursday. It is Thursday.
Thursday.
So then what we can do is at our December 15th meeting, look at the calendars of CPC, Housing Committee, and the Trust to try and work out a special meeting date for January.
Right.
Does that sound agreeable to the Trust?
Perfect. Thank you.
Good by me.
All right, thank you very much. Selectman Howell, did you have something?
Yeah, a bunch of somethings. The first is just a process thing. On all of these agendas, I don't want to slip back to where we had been a year ago. We spent a long time getting a fixed agenda item, which was essentially a member's report, where we could feed from each of the individuals in a stylized way, that every meeting there was that agenda item, agenda building, from members, but also member reports if they were up to anything. So I would like to see that in the future.
I'm sorry, it was called member updates?
Yeah.
Yep.
In one of these, I'll talk to you offline about. We need to get back on our radar screen 2 different types of workshops. One, J.M. Goldson said that they would start being available again in December. We need to do that for our action plan. We're almost 3 years in. We don't have an action plan. And thankfully, through inaction, by conscious inaction, we preserved the money to be able to buy the Marceline property. But I repeatedly pointed out under the prior administration that people were coming in for $100,000 for this and $100,000 for that. There were different commercial projects. Without an action plan, we have no way of knowing what the priorities are that we're trying to pursue. So that got COVIDed out. It stopped. And we need to fire that up again, and it needs to happen like pretty soon. The other workshops that we need is, I had personally promised a bunch of people, and I want to be able to follow through on that promise, that on the Marceline property, that we were going to get people involved in the community, some of whom may have known Jimmy, and I mention that because Jimmy did his own affordable housing through the years, and I feel like this is lineally the successor to all of that. We've got a large property that he owned, and I want to do this right and make sure that the public is part of that. So those are more a different type of workshop, but just to get public interest fired up to put something there. And the third one, they're not all related to each other. The third one was the Board of Selectmen voted to allow us to use special counsel. And I take note of the fact that Earl wrote in a couple other things that we're still using KP law. The whole point of us getting the special counsel was we didn't have a whole heck of a lot of confidence in KP laws, not necessarily their opinions, but the priority that they enjoyed, amongst other things that they were doing. When we dealt with Matt over the purchase of the Marsline property, he was never more than an hour away from an answer. And that was the reason for the request in the first place, is to start, getting this thing moving. I mean, there are a number of reasons why things aren't moving. The workshops are one, the council is another, but I just wanted to bring it up again, that we do have the authority to do
we
special
do.
counsel, which is really
Faster.
why we wanted to. It's faster. I mean, I don't think it's just my opinion. If I were to ask for a vote, I'm pretty sure that we've done this in the past. That's why we asked in the first place. There was a vote of the trust that we're going to request the selectmen that they allow us to do it. So we're on record as saying we want to use special counsel.
So, I apologize, I thought there was an update at a previous meeting where we do have special counsel. I'm working with Matt on an extension of his previous agreement as authorized by the board.
Okay, but I'm just talking practically speaking about things like Earl Road and some other things. I mean, at some point in time, I'd like to be able to segue over to them. Sisson Road.
Yep.
I'd like to get a new pair of eyes looking at things, to be honest with you, because we've just been sitting in the room talking and talking and talking, and haven't built anything yet.
What do you mean? Can you just clarify what you mean? Sorry.
Well,
So
I mean, some of these properties aren't even available to be built on at the moment. We wanted to flip one of them, and we're running into something of a roadblock.
So there are some matters that are still presently under executive session with the board, though.
That's as far as I'm gonna go. But the fact of the matter is that I would like the assistance of our council in doing some of this stuff. If it's under our jurisdiction.
So that, are you saying that our council that we voted and that was approved to have,
We are not currently
Should-
utilizing that council, our
should
council.
that council be part of these discussions with the Board of Selectmen? No.
No, because we don't own the land yet.
As
Once that vote
represented-
happens.
Okay, once that vote happens.
I'm advocating that moving forward, that once we do have jurisdiction on it, that that the path that we were taking before is not the path I would personally want to take. And if I had to make a motion, I'm pretty sure the trust would agree with me. I mean, that's why we got the special counsel in the first place.
So if the board approves this evening, tomorrow morning, 8 AM, these become the purview legally of this other attorney? Is that what you?
We need to then sign, and then it needs to be filed at the Registry of Deeds. There's a sequence here. Until that happens, it still isn't ours.
Okay. Thank you. Steve,
I didn't mean anything for an action. I just wanted to
No, I
say
understand.
that as a
I think
future.
I do, yep. So for the 15th, I have that we're bringing back the new business item C that we talked about a moment ago. We're going to have an agenda item to work on scheduling a joint meeting with the Housing Committee. I will add, as a matter of course, to every agenda, member updates or the similar language that the trust used before. Do we want to talk about the J.M. Goulston action plan and have them represented?
If they can.
Yep, I
The
have
two
that.
types of workshops, theirs and what the Marceline engagement looks like.
So I do have that, a bullet point down. The next one I have was the finance director, talking about the fund balances and the accounting process. Then I had future workshops, one of which would be Goulston, the other one would be a workshop related to the Marceline project.
And since we can't talk about it until we get it public, I want to get Catherine Childs on the agenda so that we can actually do something. I mean, there's a pending request we haven't done anything with.
There's been some movement, but.
Okay, no, I get that, but I would like to be able to bring it to a public meeting so
Yep.
that we can get to the point of moving that on.
At this point, were there any other topics that the members wanted to have added to the December 15th agenda?
Do we have a CPC application? Are we putting one in this year or
There
not?
were the two applications that were submitted, the 500,000 general one and the 50,000 for a part-time housing coordinator. However, the town, on the selectmen's side, may be moving forward on a permanent full-time position. But those
Okay.
applications are in, and I did update the CPC on them.
Okay.
So they're
We,
still in the
as
mix.
a group, don't need to do anything.
It was my understanding that you folks had already voted prior to the application.
We did.
Yep.
And then just to recap, Oak Street, I did find some information while we were just talking here. The discussions really start on the 6/20/19 meeting, and then 8/15/20 meeting that August. We did a feasibility study on the property, and it was really deemed for only one single-family home. But there's no bedrooms put to that. And then there's some additional work that would have to be done after that. So that's where it starts, the conversation.
So what was the first one, January?
It's June 20th, 19. It's in the minutes.
Yep.
And then the following meeting, Laura and, Laura updates the feasibility study on 8/15/20 in those minutes.
So she may have data.
Was that?
She may have data.
She might have some, so I'll connect with her, if that's okay, and
Sure,
I'll get that
absolutely.
information for next time.
Larry, anything else to come before the trust?
The only thing is, I think I got it that you have a couple of applications for the housing person.
Correct. Megan confirmed last week that there are 2 applicants. They're local. I have to check back. I think we leave the application process open, but Megan is going to be reaching out to those individuals to have initial meetings.
Okay, that's good. I just hope we get some good qualified people, because it's not gonna be an easy job.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Don.
I hate doing this. This is the government geek in me, but I have a real big belief after this many years in government that the process drives the results. If you're not rock solid in the process, bad things start happening. A couple of months ago, I gave you all copies of the filed registry document that formed the trust. And I'm not advocating that the special counsel look at this, but it's a chicken or the egg argument. Somewhere or another, the members here have to look at that seriously. Brendan did, because he started talking about this is inconsistent with the article, the bylaw that was passed. I'd like to have, in a future agenda, the members do markups, that document to
Good
see what
idea.
kind of updates that they were looking at, because you can't give it to a lawyer by saying, we want this updated, without them understanding what it is you're looking at. I know that there's at least one thing that's inarticulate where it continues to reference the word "the board," meaning the Board of Trustees of the Housing Trust and the Board of Selectmen, and they never actually define which board they're talking about as they ramble on. So I would like that to be on an agenda so that every member, can redline what it is that they're that they are finding, and we could put together some sort of unified something.
Do you
or other.
want that for December or hold over to January?
I think January, because I'd like everybody to have some
You're talking
time.
about in the declaration of the trust?
Yeah,
Yeah, I read that the word board is referencing us. But it's only in one spot where it says Board of Trustees in parentheses that we're considered the board throughout that document.
but it also talks about the Board of Selectmen, and it never actually repeats the whole title again.
Well, okay. We can take a
Just
look at
make
it.
it a defined term.
Yeah.
Any other comments, Don?
Nope.
Judith? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Brendan?
I'm sorry, yes.
Larry?
All right.
I was reading.
Don?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Thank you, Judith.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. We are adjourned. We already had Thanksgiving. See you on the 15th.